It's to Mali now, where fighting is intensifying between the army and separatist insurgents. This comes as the rebels claim to have captured a camp of Mali's armed forces in the north of the country. The renewed fighting in the northern Kidal region coincides with the withdrawal of the UN mission to the country. UN-backed international forces have been pushed out by the military leaders who took over in a coup in 2021. The army seized power, promising to improve security and end the insurgency.
It's a trade-off with the people that Mali's junta hasn't tired of repeating. You back us in power, we provide the security you need. Today, we feel a clear improvement in the security framework. And this is due to the various operations that have been launched recently. And these operations are beginning to bear fruit. Despite the political pledges, Malians have seen increasing violence. 2 years ago, al-Qaeda-linked rebels targeted this base housing the ruling military on the outskirts of the capital. And 2 months ago, dozens died when rebels attacked this passenger boat near Gao on the River Niger. The northern Malian city of Timbuktu has been besieged since August. Blockaded by the fighters and under attack, tens of thousands have already fled. What worries us is the shelling of the town. This creates a real psychosis and leaves its mark on the people's minds. I myself have this fear inside me. Conflict is deepening as Mali's military rulers abandon long-term allies. Paris and Bamako blamed each other for the end of a decade of French military involvement. The UN-mandated MINUSMA and EU missions will be gone by the year's end.
It's hard to see who might come to Mali's rescue this time. And everybody is basically praying that the conflict won't, turn to larger instability in the region.
So who will be left to keep the peace? The Malian army and the junta's chosen allies, the Russian Wagner militia. But where 15,000 UN peacekeepers struggled to subdue the rebels, where will the bet on 1,500 militiamen leave the government and the people of Mali?
And to give us more insight into the developments in Mali, we have invited Niagale Bagayoko onto the program. She is a political scientist and specializes in security systems in Francophone countries in Africa. It's good to have you on the program again, Niagale. We've seen that rebels and jihadist groups have recently intensified their attacks in Mali. Is there an explanation for this?
In fact, it's been a while that there has been growing tensions between Bamako and the northern Mali rebel groups, mostly Tuareg, but not only. What is important to say is that a number of them have signed the peace agreement in 2015, but in fact this agreement was never implemented, nor by those groups themselves, nor by Bamako. And tension has been increasing, particularly when MINUSMA has become to retreat from a number of locations. And there is conflict to know who should be occupying those camps. As regards the jihadi groups, they are particularly active in Timbuktu region as regards those affiliated to Al-Qaeda, whilst those affiliated to the Islamic State are particularly influent in the area of Menaka region. So you can see that the situation is very complicated because it's also important to stress the fact that Al-Qaeda jihadi groups are fighting against Islamic State jihadi groups.
Yeah, as you point out, it's a very complex situation. You talked about MINUSMA there, that's that UN mission. We know that those troops will soon be leaving the country after 10 years. Is it possible to say now what kind of impact that will have and potentially how that vacuum will be filled?
In fact, the UN, United Nations MINUSMA has to leave because the Malian authorities have asked it to leave the country because they were rather unsatisfied about the way it has been performing officially, but also because they were particularly worrying about all the investigations which were conducted by MINUSMA regarding human rights abuses, both by the Malian military and by their Russian partners.
Niagala, I actually want to keep you on that point about these allegations of abuses that have been made by the UN, because as you point out, UN experts have accused the junta in Mali of human rights violations. What more can you tell us about those allegations?
In fact, there have been an important number of investigations which were conducted by UN MINUSMA from the very beginning, from the beginning of the mission itself. And more recently, there has been a very terrible massacre in Moura, which is a city in the northern part of Mali, where hundreds of people were killed, presumably, according to the United Nations, by both some Malian militaries and some members of Wagner groups. And this report has been a matter of very high tension between Bamako and the UN, as well as reports from other independent UN experts.
Mali is in a region that is experiencing instability at the moment. I'm referring to the Sahel. And I wondered, Niagale, has the recent coup in neighboring Niger had any impact on the security situation in Mali?
Yes, I think it's very important to note that a new alliance had just been concluded between the three central Sahelian countries, that is Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, which from now on are all directed by juntas, military juntas. And 2 weeks ago, a new partnership was signed, which is called l'Alliance des États du Sahel, the AIS, centered around the Liptako-Goma region, where the three countries have committed themselves to cooperate both to fight jihadism, but also to fight national rebellions. And we can see that this is of importance, given that the northern Tuareg rebels are supported today by some Tuareg rebels in Niger. So potentially, even if the latter have not presently a very large basis, there is the scene for a major confrontation.
Niagale Bagayoko, as always, thank you for your insight.
Thank you.